What we believe ourselves to be. I enter the teletransporter. I have been to Mars before, but only by the old method, a spaceship journey taking several weeks. This machine will send me at the speed of light. I merely have to press the green button. Like others, I am nervous. Will it work? I remind myself what I have been told to expect. When I press the button, I shall lose consciousness and then wake up at what seems a moment later. In fact, I shall have been unconscious for about an hour. The scanner here on Earth will destroy my brain and body while recording the exact states of all of my cells. It will then transmit this information by radio. Traveling at the speed of light, the message will take 3 minutes to reach the replicator on Mars. This will then create, out of new matter, a brain and body exactly like mine. It will be in this body that I shall wake up. Though I believe that this is what will happen, I still hesitate. But then I remember seeing my wife grin when, at breakfast today, I revealed my nervousness. As she reminded me, she has been often teletransported, and there is nothing wrong with her. I press the button. As predicted, I lose and seem at once to regain consciousness, but in a different cubicle. Examining my new body, I find no change at all. Even the cut on my upper lip from this morning's shave is still there. Several years pass, during which I am often teletransported. I am now back in the cubicle, ready for another trip to Mars. But this time, when I press the green button, I do not lose consciousness. There is a whirring sound, then silence. I leave the cubicle and say to the attendant, "It's not working. What did I do wrong?" "It's working," he replies, handing me a printed card. This reads, "The new scanner records your blueprint without destroying your brain and body. We hope that you will welcome the opportunities which this technical advance offers." The attendant tells me that I am one of the first people to use the new scanner. He adds that if I stay for an hour, I can use the intercom to see and talk to myself on Mars. "Wait a minute," I reply. "If I'm here, I can't also be on Mars." Someone politely coughs, a white-coated man who asks to speak to me in private. We go to his office, where he tells me to sit down and pauses. Then he says, "I'm afraid that we're having problems with the new scanner. It records your blueprint just as accurately as you will see when you talk to yourself on Mars. But it seems to be damaging the cardiac systems which it scans. Judging from the results so far, though you will be quite healthy on Mars, here on Earth, you must expect cardiac failure within the next few days." The attendant later calls me to the intercom. On the screen, I see myself just as I do in the mirror every morning. But there are two differences. On the screen, I am not left-right reversed. And while I stand here speechless, I can see and hear myself in the studio on Mars starting to speak. What can we learn from this imaginary story? Some believe that we can learn little. This would have been Wittgenstein's view. And Quine writes, "The method of science fiction has its uses in philosophy, but I wonder whether the limits of the method are properly heeded. To seek what is logically required for sameness of person under unprecedented circumstances is to suggest that words have some logical force beyond what our past needs have invested them with." This criticism might be justified if When considering such imagined cases, we had no reactions. But these cases arouse in most of us strong beliefs. And these are beliefs not about our words, but about ourselves. By considering these cases, we discover what we believe to be involved in our own continued existence, or what it is that makes us now and ourselves next year the same people. We discover our beliefs about the nature of personal identity over time. Though our beliefs are revealed most clearly when we consider imaginary cases, these beliefs also cover actual cases and our own lives. In part 3 of this book, I shall argue that some of these beliefs are false, then suggest how and why this matters. Simple teletransportation and the branch line case. At the beginning of my story, the scanner destroys my brain and body. My blueprint is beamed to Mars, where another machine makes an organic replica of me. My replica thinks that he is me, and he seems to remember living my life up to the moment where I press the green button. In every other way, both physically and psychologically, we are exactly similar. If he returned to Earth, everyone would think that he was me. Simple teletransportation, as just described, is a common feature in science fiction, and it is believed by some readers of this fiction merely to be the fastest way of traveling. They believe that my replica would be me. Other science fiction readers, and some of the characters in this fiction, take a different view. They believe that when I press the green button, I die. My replica is someone else who has been made to be exactly like me. This second view seems to be supported by the end of my story. The new scanner does not destroy my brain and body. Besides gathering the information, it merely damages my heart. While I am in the cubicle with the green button pressed, nothing seems to happen. I walk out and learn that in a few days, I shall die. I later talk by two-way television to my replica on Mars. Let us continue the story. Since my replica knows that I am about to die, he tries to console me with the same thoughts with which I recently tried to console a dying friend. It is sad to learn on the receiving end how unconsoling these thoughts are. My replica then assures me that he will take up my life where I leave off. He loves my wife, and together they will care for my children, and he will finish the book that I am writing. Besides having all of my drafts, he has all of my intentions. I must admit that he can finish my book as well as I could. All these facts console me a little. Dying when I know that I shall have a replica is not quite as bad as simply dying. Even so, I shall soon lose consciousness forever. In simple teletransportation, I am destroyed before I am replicated. This makes it easier to believe that this is a way of traveling, that my replica is me. At the end of my story, my life and that of my replica overlap. Call this the branch line case. In this case, I cannot hope to travel on the main line, waking up on Mars with 40 years of life ahead. I shall stay on the branch line here on Earth, which ends a few days later. Since I can talk to my replica, it seems clear that he is not me. Though he is exactly like me, He is one person, and I am another. When I pinch myself, he feels nothing. When I have my heart attack, he will again feel nothing. And when I am dead, he will live for another 40 years. If we believe that my replica is not me, it is natural to assume that my prospect on the branch line is almost as bad as ordinary death. I shall deny this assumption. As I shall argue later, being destroyed and replicated is about as good as ordinary survival. I can best defend this claim, and the wider view of which it is part, after discussing the past debate about personal identity.